Let's talk about the situation then in Ukraine for a moment. And I don't know, perhaps I shouldn't laugh when Keir Starmer, a news alert comes from the BBC telling me that Keir Starmer has called out Vladimir Putin. No ifs, no buts. We want a ceasefire. And I really did wonder if an aggressive warmonger like Vladimir Putin would be sitting in the Kremlin thinking, oh no, Keir Starmer has told me no ifs, no buts. That's it. I'm going to change my behaviour. Perhaps more pertinent to the discussion is what message having a coalition of the willing, leaders of France, Germany, UK, all gathering there with Zelensky, what kind of message does that send to the Russian president and this demand for a sort of a 30-day unequivocal ceasefire? Well, I'm delighted to say I'm joined once again by Kira Rudik, member of the Ukrainian Parliament, leader of Ukraine's Holos party. Good morning to you, Kira. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Matthew, and thank you so much for having me.
The coalition of the willing, what message will Putin, do you think, have taken from yesterday's gathering?
The message is that there was some offer. And you see, Matthew, yesterday we were all sort of elated because there was this gathering as opposing to the May 9th parade in Kremlin, where the new Axis was gathering and showing its might. Now we had the presidents here in Kyiv, and it seemed that they have made a strong suggestion, that ultimatum, that if there is not a stopping of the ceasefire since Monday, then there would be significant sanctions imposed and there would be more military delivery to Ukraine. And so overnight, Putin is saying, let's meet in Istanbul next week. And it seems that President Trump is supporting this idea. So now the question is, basically, the coalition of the willing, including Sir Keir Starmer, they pulled out a knife in the street fight, and somebody says, well, no, let's perhaps negotiate, or like, I want to do it differently. And the truth is they need to go ahead with the sanctions, because obviously there will not be a ceasefire starting tomorrow. Actually, right now, like the air raid siren went off just a couple of hours ago. This night we were under attack again. So if the world will again agree with Putin to his idea of negotiations, which was basically there on the table in 2022, and you know, like, it didn't lead us anywhere. So the question is, does West mean business? And like, are they ready to go ahead with what they have threatened Putin with?
I'm going to sound ridiculously naive to you, but just bear with me. I take on board everything you've said. The message from Putin is that he's going to sort of look at the proposal. Do we give that, I can see you smiling already, do you give that any credence at all? Is it just another delaying tactic? Do you think there's any intention from Putin to even glance through the proposal from the coalition of the willing?
No, I think that they in Kremlin, they had like a pretty good meeting when they were discussing this, because first, our Western allies, unfortunately, were known of making threats and then not going through with them. Even before the beginning of full-scale invasion, they were threatening Putin with sanctions that will destroy Russian economy, etc., etc. Look, right now, Putin is still able to trade with the whole world using the Shadow Fleet. And by the way, here, I need to say that Britain on Friday has announced special sanctions for the Shadow Fleet. And this is amazing. This is something that should have been done a while ago. But you don't need to listen what Putin says. We need to look at his actions. And his actions are the following. Even during the so-called ceasefire, there was no stopping of the fighting at the front line. There were no attacks on peaceful cities, but generally there was like not a ceasefire per se. And right now there is no reason for him to stop the war, because they have gotten like this strengthening ties with China, North Korea, Iran. They have gotten additional military from North Korea, from what we know, and they're getting ready for a summer offensive. And right now there are some suggestions coming from Kyiv with Western allies I think it's just a negotiation technique from Putin with President Trump.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because his role in this becomes more confusing and arguably more opaque as time has gone on. So from bullying Zelenskyy in the White House at the end of February, essentially saying I'm going to walk away from the war if the ceasefire is agreed. No demands made on Putin, all the demands made on Ukraine. He then has this sort of Damascene moment when he realises, I think, that Putin has been stringing him along. Now he's kind of physically not present, but he joined the coalition of the willing by telephone yesterday. I guess what I'm asking here is how important is Trump with regards to a ceasefire? And does the fact that he's not visible, particularly visible at the moment, how does that affect play?
So I think the key thing here is that yesterday everybody saw that Trump is on board with this ultimatum that was coming from coalition of the willing because he was on the call. And then after Putin's statement and proposal, he makes a tweet where basically he supports Putin and not saying, no, we made an ultimatum, you first agreed to that, then there are any kind of negotiations, etc. So this is really tough. But I think we have put so much hope onto the United States over the last decades and over the last couple of years that right now we need to turn our eyes inside and say, well, Europe needs to be able to rely on itself, because the new administration is bringing more hectic energy, I would say politely, into all those kinds of negotiations and discussions. And though we are grateful for things that they are trying to do, we do not actually see the result, right? Like since the moment President Trump said that there will be end of the war in
day
24
one.
hours, the factual thing that we've gotten is actually that for 2 days there was our military were not getting intelligence and military support. This is the only fact right now.
And on that, I have to agree reluctantly. Kira Rudik, pleasure talking to you as usual. Kira, there, member of the Ukrainian Parliament.